So I'm going to open with a slide that I'm going to read to you.
Good choice.
Ram Dass has said, "I make the effort to maintain a ground of oceanic silence out of which arises the multitude of phenomena of daily life. I make the effort to see and to passionately open in love to the spirit that infuses all things. I make the effort to see the beloved in everyone and to serve the beloved through everyone, including the earth. I often fail in these aspirations because I lose the balance between separateness and unity. I get lost in my separateness and I feel afraid, but I make the effort." I take great comfort in this quote because if Ram Dass feels like he often fails at this, then it would seem that I'm doing just fine. You know, growing up, I remember hearing the phrase, "If at first you don't succeed, try again." And I think that my struggle with it was that there were simply some things that I was not going to succeed at. And let me qualify this before anybody jumps on me for not speaking affirmatively. For me, success was and pretty much still is defined as mastery. And I know that's not actually the case for what success is. I'm just sharing with you a secret from the deep, dark psyche of your Piscean minister. So when it came to math, sports, shop class, and home ec, no matter how much I tried, I was not succeeding according to the standards that were being placed in front of me. And so I began to believe that the bar that had been set for succeeding was impossible to reach. An aptitude for algebra, athletic prowess, being able to build a turtle-shaped lamp, being able to cook and sew and get myself a husband. These were achievement bars I wasn't going to make. And so immediately that thought of defeat is what came forward. And the universe sends us messages that cheers us up about these moments of defeat. And one of those messages that I love says, "Never be afraid to try something new. Remember, amateurs built the Ark, professionals built the Titanic." And also, very fortunately, we have people on the planet, wonderful teachers like Amma. If you've seen her, she's the woman who goes and hugs. She's amazing. And she reminds us that the success of one's life depends upon one's ability to forget what is not relevant to the present moment. To forget what is not relevant to the present moment. So living from that perspective, I've learned to set my own bars of achievement. And like Ram Dass, I continually try to meet them. Instead of the ones that were set back in elementary and middle school, my life aspirations have become to serve as best I can, while keeping my own well at least half full. To forgive, to see with a capital S, to see others and myself as whole and holy. To keep learning, to not give up. There are many more. For today, I narrowed them down to 3. To try and show, to try and grow, and to try and know. We'll break it down. To try and show. What I mean by to try and show means to show up as opposed to show off. Living confidently, knowing that I know what I know to be true without allowing it to become prideful or ego-driven. To try and grow is to keep learning, to recognize that the things that I don't know yet, and to pursue that wisdom to improve my life, to improve myself, and to support Spirit Stone, so I can keep being here. To make changes in my life that will improve and hopefully extend my life here in Earth School. And to try and know. This for me means to get quiet, to simply stop talking with my mouth and with my monkey mind both, and to listen to the guidance from Spirit that is always knowing what is true for me and my life. So let's go a little deeper. To try and show. So once again, I'm going to borrow from Ram Dass. In his book, How Can I Help? He shares this great story that in the temple one day, the rabbi, in a frenzy of religious passion, just ran up to the ark and knelt and dropped to his knees in front of the Torah and beating his chest started crying, I'm nobody. I'm nobody. And the cantor of the synagogue, so inspired by the religious fervor, ran up to the rabbi and dropped in humility, also saying, I'm nobody. I'm nobody. Well, the custodian who was watching from the side couldn't restrain himself. He joined the other two on his knees, just praising God. I'm nobody. I'm nobody. At which point the rabbi elbows the cantor and says, look who thinks he's nobody. Ram Dass explains through the story that narcissism and spirituality do not mix. When someone tells you that they've found it, or they have arrived, or that their work is done, or that they know everything, be wary. Be wary. Just kind of, namaste, namaste, bless you on your path. Wow. Yeah. Because we've all had those moments, right? We've all had those moments, that amazing sense where you feel like you've reached the top of the mountain, and you're like, oh, I get it. I'm in bliss. I'm in full connection with Spirit. Oh my God, this is glorious. What's really amazing about those moments is the moment right after that when the bottom falls out. And it's who we are in that moment, how we handle that moment. That defines our spiritual growth and path and how we show up. Up until 2013, I would perform and talk about this one-woman show that I wrote called Choose Again. And it was a real source of pride for me. The story of how I had overcome the darkness in my life. And I had, and it inspired many people. And it was a beautiful thing. And then the bottom fell out. And it fell far. And now, after surviving over a year of loss in every aspect of my life and working through that time as both Reverend Rachel and everyday Rachel, I've been learning what it really means to show up, to try and show. And it's about yielding, and it's about trusting and leaning into, and most importantly, breathing. I highly recommend this as a spiritual practice. Breathing. So, to try and show, we do our best. To try and grow, all right, you've waited for it, here it is. That's my mommy. My mom amazes me. I think it was sometime in the 1990s that she got an Apple computer, one of those desktop colored ones, the Blueberry. I was insanely jealous. I didn't know how to use a computer, but I wanted that one. And so here she was in her mid to late 60s, and she started the Statue of Liberty Collectors Club, which is a worldwide club of collectors and enthusiasts who love the Statue of Liberty. She was creating email newsletters. She was arranging group travel, group journeys to France and to New York with people from all over the globe. She was arranging air travel and all this stuff, all on this computer. And there I was at the same time. I was fairly certain in the early 90s that email was the work of the devil. I refused to do it. I refused to learn it. I was a letter writer from old school. I'm like, I'm not doing that electronic thing. But my mom continues to inspire me because she continues to grow. She continues to adapt to the world around her. She's on Facebook, like regularly, and she texts with me. And she does little XOXO texts. And she's funny, and she's hip, and she's cool, and she's gorgeous. This is her at 81. I'll show you later if you want to come up and look, but she's remarkable. And so she's taught me that this world, technology in our world is changing so fast that if it weren't for her and my nieces and my nephews and the kids I serve at work, I definitely would be considered a total unhip old chick, like hippie child. So we have to keep learning. There's so much out there. Spirit is the infinite creator, and we are partners in this infinite creation. And so there's always more to learn. And even if it's just to be happier or a more peaceful person on the planet, we need to learn how to do that. So to keep growing, we need to read, keep reading, keep asking questions, keep having conversations, deep conversations about important things, keep facing our demons, keep releasing old ways of being, even if it means releasing it again and again and again. And I offer the challenge to each of us, because I heard someone say this the other day, and ooh, a little hair on the back of my neck. I offer the challenge to all of us to never use the expression, that's just the way I am. Well, that's just the way I am. And I ask why is because that's just the way we are in that moment. Let's not lock in. We don't have to say, oh, it's just the way I am forever. It's just that moment. In the next moment, we'll be different, and we'll grow. And it will grow if we allow ourselves to. This says, on particularly rough days when I'm sure I can't possibly endure, I like to remind myself that my track record for getting through bad days so far is 100%. Yes! And that's pretty good. And that's pretty good. So let's keep growing, trying and growing. My friend Susan posted on her Facebook wall a segment from Mary Oliver's poem, 3 Things to Remember. And so it opens with, as long as you're dancing, you can break the rules. Sometimes breaking the rules is just extending the rules. Sometimes there are no rules. So we keep growing. So now to try and know. Here's something to ponder. Kind of like those moments when somebody tells you, I've made it, I've learned everything I need to know, I'm enlightened and I'm good. We can learn how to recognize when what we're hearing is not actually wisdom. And I'm calling it the sieve of discernment. We can use our sieve of discernment. That when we hear something, we kind of put it through our filter of, how does that sit with me? How does that feel with me? Is that good energy? Is that wonky? What does that feel like? And so we can use that to listen to the wisdom of others and decide if that's wisdom we can use or not. And see if it will move us forward. So it would seem that a large piece of knowing is getting quiet, is discerning, is waiting. Waiting. Patience. Patience, my old adversary, who is now my friend. Now my friend. And for me particularly, not speaking or moving until I am sure of what I know. A friend recently used this phrase when she was praying with me, and she said, we know what we know that we know. And it's this idea to know that we know what we know. To know that we know what we know is the place to be. That phrase knocks me out. It's a delicious sensation to know that we know what we know, to have confidence, the confidence of spirit, of creation, of the allness there is, to have that confidence and to step forth and speak and live from that. So as the rabbit hole of this talk winded down underground and around, I discovered a series of videos on YouTube about 2 young people, Katie and Aaron, a young woman and a young man from Oklahoma. And this is them. They're adorable. This is Katie, and that's Aaron. They're no longer a couple, sadly. I watched the entire thing unfold on YouTube. But so they're great. So what is unique and special about Katie and Aaron is that years before these 2 actually met, growing up, let me say it again, in Oklahoma, Katie was born a boy named Luke, and Aaron was born a girl that was named Emerald. And both of them knew by the age of 5 that they were in the wrong bodies. They knew it. Katie, who was Lucas at the time, told her mom, this isn't who I am. This body is not who I am. Knew it, age 5. Now, fortunately for them, they both had mothers who were awake and conscious and sensitive enough to know that what was happening was out of their hands. It wasn't a failure on their part. It wasn't a problem. It was a challenge to be looked at and dealt with lovingly and honestly. It was harder for Aaron because his mom wanted a baby girl so badly and raised Emerald in party dresses and pageant gowns. And when Emerald said, "This ain't it," that was very hard for her, hard for the mom. But, their family supported them and their community supported them. And these two have beaten, I think they're both 20 now, but they've beaten the odds that most transgender teens fall into. 41% suicide rate with transgender teens. These two are living these great lives. They each have books coming out about their their journey. But they knew who they were. So another piece, so thank you, Katie and Aaron. So another piece of this knowing, the last couple of weeks, my friend Michael Devin has been very present in my atmosphere. I've got his picture in my locket. He's one of my angels that carries me and takes care of me and looks after me. But he has this musical that he wrote that is being staged and possibly considered for forward movement. But he wrote it years and years ago. And I was listening to it and I was thinking about him, and then I realized the song that he wrote for the closing of the musical is a song called Here. And in this song, a young woman is being encouraged by those around her to recognize her value simply because she's here. That there's nothing she needs to get or win or do. She's already worthy because she's here. And what's amazing is this character goes through quite a long journey in the musical, and to get to that point where she can sing along with the people encouraging her, where she can accept that they're right, when she can finally embrace, yes, I know, I have every right to be here. It's very powerful. And the thing about the song is that it acknowledges that knowing that doesn't make life any easier. It doesn't make the pain stop or end or go away. But it does change how we move through those painful moments. The last line of the song is, and I'm going to try my best, though my life may be falling apart, though the world may be breaking my heart, I have always got somewhere to start, being here. So we keep trying, even when it feels impossible, because of what we know inside about ourselves. Not the stories, not the monkey mind, not the history, what we know about ourselves. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this story. It's called Autobiography in 5 chapters. Chapter 1, I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I'm lost. I'm hopeless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. Chapter 2, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place, but it isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3, I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it there. I still fall in. It's a habit. But my eyes are open. I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out of it immediately. Chapter 4, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5, I walk down another street. So Maddie and I are currently looking for a new home. And I just have to say that it can be something of a discouraging experience. However, I learned something this past Friday. I had looked at a couple of places and I just felt really hopeless. I felt like I was going to have to settle and compromise just so that Maddie and I could have a place of our own. And then out of the blue, And whenever I say, then out of the blue, I always hear God laughing. Like, really, Rachel? I got a message from somebody, and it said, and the message said, there's going to be an open house from 6 to 7 at this address. Go. Well, I'd already been out all day. It was pouring all day. I was wet. It was cold. I was home. I'm like, I don't want to do this. But I thought, somebody put that out there for me, so I'm going to go. So I hauled Maddie into the car, and we went. And as we're going there, I'm like, well, this isn't a neighborhood I would have thought to live in. Huh. And yeah, the place had some stairs to get into, which was, like, oh, I don't want a place with stairs. But I walked in the front door of this place and went, oh, yeah. Now here's the key about trying and showing, trying and growing, and trying and knowing. So I showed up, even though I didn't really feel like it. I showed up. I shifted my limitations about neighborhoods and about accessibility issues that I've limited myself with. And even though I feel great about this place, and I really feel great about this place, what I know now is that if this isn't it, it's okay. Because there'll be another one that will be a yes as well. And maybe even another one after that, just in the next moment. There will be more. If this one isn't our new home, if it's not meant to be, then it's not like there never will be, which is what I felt Friday afternoon. I was like, I'm never going to find a place. I totally surrendered. Not in a good way. So it means now that I know that I'm willing and open to whatever. Now this expands my search field. And to keep going, and to keep looking, and to keep asking, to keep trying. So each time we try and we miss the mark, the thing to celebrate about trying and missing the mark is that we can celebrate that we're getting closer. And I'm talking about all aspects of life, from algebra or baking or even relationships or working out, all the way to the big stuff like life, forgiveness of self and others, showing up, remembering that we're here on purpose. All of it. The secret is keep trying. Keep trying. So I want to close with the same quote that I opened with from Ram Dass. I make the effort to maintain a ground of oceanic silence, out of which arises the multitude of phenomena of daily life. I make the effort to see and to passionately open in love to the spirit that infuses all things. I make the effort to see the beloved in everyone and to serve the beloved through everyone, including the earth. I often fail in these aspirations because I lose the balance between separateness and unity. I get lost in my separateness and feel afraid. But I make the effort. So let's do some prayer. So just taking this moment to breathe, to breathe. I really feel that when Spirit places us here on the planet, our only commitment to Spirit that really needs to be withheld is that we show up. That we give it our best as often as possible. Because what I truly believe is that Spirit is not this man in the clouds or this being above us ordering us about. What I believe is that God, Spirit, allness, love, the one, is in us, is like the batteries that are inside us that keep us going. And it's living its life through us. It's experiencing its own creation through each one of us. And so every time we try, every time we make an effort, I hear this Spirit resounding yes, celebrating that. And when in our smallness and in our humanness and in our disconnection and our separateness, we feel like we have failed, what I hear Spirit saying is, no, that's not a failure. That's a step closer to the yes. Don't give up. Showing up in this life is so essential. We bring such importance to the world, each one of us. And growing and changing, becoming more expansive and more accepting and more willing to try. This is what I see as the hope for peace on this planet, is that willingness to grow beyond the belief that locks us in. And then to know that we are not alone. That we have the most divine companion, this essence of life itself that is right behind us, kind of encouraging and pushing us along. So when we know that, when we feel that connection, then even when the bottom drops out, we have some place to stand. We still have some place to stand. And so no matter what the challenge is, from what's happening in the Middle East, to what's happening in Syria, to what's happening on our border, to what's happening in Nigeria, all over the world, what I can know with true confidence is that there's always someone in every one of those situations who's holding the wisdom of God and saying, wait a minute, hear me out. God is in all of it. All of it. So surely whatever we have going on, God is in the center of it as well. Revealing a light, shining away, and showing us, when we pay attention, what our next step is. With deep gratitude, I release what needs to go. And I open up for all the good. All the good. For myself, for everyone here, for everyone on this planet, and beyond. All good. And I promise to keep trying. Amen. Ashe.